What is going on, guys? Matt here. So today we're not looking at a knife. We're not looking at a cold steel, though we have cold steel on the table. We are looking at the Apoc Barrens pack axe. Now, if you're wondering why you've never heard of Apoc, well, that's because they're, it seems, a small company. There's not really a lot of information on them on the web. You know, they make a few blades, some axes, some swords, I think a knife or two, but I couldn't even find like a website or anything for them. But I wanted to talk about this specific axe because I picked up this axe for a reason. So we are going to talk about specs, what I like, what I don't like, and something unique. But let me first go into kind of why I picked this up. So I had been wanting a full tang axe, because I love axes. I have numerous axes, and I wanted kind of something that would be really robust, not crazy super heavy, but also have some good capabilities. So I kind of stumbled across the Apoc brand, found a few of the swords they made. I really liked the design, and then I saw this, and this was kind of just up my alley. I wanted an axe that was full tang with, you know, G10 or polymer type of handle, a hammer head on the back, and a good sized blade. Because I do have a full tang. This is a tomahawk made by Estwing. And the reason I haven't kind of used it much is, well, we'll talk about it here in a little while. So anyway, I found this axe. I stumbled across it. I really liked the sheath that it came with. And so I went ahead and picked it up. So we will kind of talk about what I like, what I dislike, and something unique about it. But that's the reason I picked it up. I wanted a full tang axe. I stumbled across this and I thought it could be a good option. So let's talk about the specs. So this is overall 16 inches in length. It has 9260 spring steel, which apparently is kind of similar to 1060. That's what I've heard anyway. It has G10 handles, and they are bolted on by Allen keys, as you can see. Yep. They're bolted on by Allen keys. Has a 5.5 inch blade, quite a large blade because this is a bearded style axe, and then a hammer face kind of on the back. So to pick this up, you're looking at about $70. It weighs about 2 pounds, and it has a plastic sheath with leather straps, and that is real leather, it appears. So what do I like about the Apoc Barrens pack axe? So I really like how large the blade is. On most axes this size, see, this is about a 16-inch axe as well. Look how small this blade is. Now, this is a tomahawk, so it's made to have kind of a smaller blade, but that's like a 2.5-inch cutting surface. For not much more weight and about the same packable length, you're getting a 5-inch blade. Now, that's fantastic, and I think they build this as kind of a survival axe. So you can use this to chop things, to kind of do anything you would need to, because you're able to choke up on it. You could even put paracord right there if you wanted to. So I really love that big blade, and look how well they did with that factory edge. I mean, it's just, it is mirror polish, which I think is pretty impressive for $70. So that's pretty cool, that nice big broad blade. I also like the G10. I think on a lot of axes in this price range, you would be getting, you know, a rubberized handle or a, you know, an FRN type. But this is G10 and it's contoured, and there's not really any sharp edges. There's some stuff I don't love about the handle, and I'll talk about that later, but I like that they use G10. I think that it's an impressive material to use on a blade like this. Another thing I really like that goes along with the G10 is the materials. You know, 9260 from what I've heard, similar to 1060. So it's going to be right along the lines of, you know, Cold Steel's 1055 or, you know, Estwing's 1055. Very common axe steel. I guess 9260 is common in swords and katanas, which makes sense because 1060, 1055 are, you know, they are forgiving steels. They're very tough. They'll take an edge easily, but, you know, they are going to, you know, they're going to hold an edge just well enough for something like an axe or a sword. So I like the materials overall. Another thing I quite like as well is the sheath. So this is an interesting style sheath. There's a lot of modularity to it. Let me show you guys kind of how this works. So it just goes in like this. You kind of have to get it up kind of high because of how big the blade is. It locks in like that, and then you strap it over, right? So I quite like this sheath. A lot of axes, you know, in this price range, they might come with a sheath, they might not. Sheath blade cover, it's more of a blade cover, I guess you could say. Like the Estwing is a, you know, kind of ballistic nylon with plastic on the inside. Actually not a bad sheath for what it is. But anyway, I quite like the materials, and I like the sheath. I think the sheath is a really, really cool thing. And I like the overall design. Again, I like how large that blade is. I like that it has the hammer pull. I like that it's full tang. Everything was going well for this axe design. I thought, this could be kind of the axe that I had been looking for, the full tang axe, nice beard, nice hammer pull, nice materials. But ultimately, it's falling short in a lot of levels, and I'll kind of talk about why. So I was introduced to this brand by a YouTuber. I can't remember his name. He's a common kind of HEMA guy, swordsman, and he found a gladius that Apoc made. And he was really excited about it because it kind of had the length he wanted, the materials he wanted, and so he was very excited about it. But when he got it, the grind on the edge was just so thick. And that's what I was afraid of with this blade, and ultimately, that is where this blade falls short. The reason I wasn't okay with using this as kind of my go-to full tang axe, if I wanted something like that, was, let me show you the blade grind. Let's see if I can get this on camera. So, look at how thick that grind is. So the reason this is an issue is, let's compare it to the cold steel. I hit my coffee cup. The cold steel, what is this? Axe gang hatchet. I'm trying to get these to where you can see them on camera, but it's kind of hard. So look at the difference in these two grinds. Look how much thinner this one is versus this. So what happens when, this blade, this S-wing right here, bites into material is there's so much material behind here. So let's say it's biting into wood. There's so much material behind here. It does not bite in. It doesn't dig in deeply because of how thick that edge is. And you can see I've actually worked on this. I've actually adjusted the spike to make it thinner. And goodness gracious, it won't come down that much. Sorry, I hit the camera right there. You really would have to take this to a grinder and just grind away until it kind of had a good angle to it, a thinner profile. That's what I was afraid of with this Apoc, and unfortunately that is the case. While this is nicely ground, and I don't think it's quite as bad or as thick as the S-wing, still quite thick. Just look at that in comparison to, again, this is kind of hard the way I have this set up, but look at that in comparison to that. Look at how much thinner that stays. You probably have an inch on that edge until it gets as thick as this gets about right here, which is about 4 or 3 inches up that blade. So again, and maybe they did that to make it stronger, to make it more of a breaching tool or a weapon. I'm just gonna say it, when it comes to designing axes, something like this with an edge that's ground well, this is still gonna be so tough. Still look how thick that edge is. It's an axe, they have a lot of concussive force. They're not meant to stay razor sharp, so you're going to get that concussive force even if your edge isn't as brutal or isn't as thick. And my issue with this is how thick the edge is. It's the same thing with the S-wing, and apparently it's quite common on a lot of these full tang axes because you don't have quite as much material like you would on a wedge axe. You have all this material, and so they're able to kind of keep it thinner, for longer, I guess. I don't know. I still think that this could have just been ground down better. And I'm not going to take the time to grind it down. It's a lot of work and a lot of effort to maybe get something functioning like it should have come out of the box. That's my main issue with this. That's my main issue with axes like this. And apparently it's a common issue with Apoc axes, with Apoc products in general. Another thing I don't like is I don't like these grooves that much. They index relatively well with me, but not always. Sometimes my finger's right on a groove. Stop putting grooves on. They could have just made this a nice flare. And so I don't like the grooves on this. And the last thing I don't like is the distribution of weight. Now this isn't terribly heavy for it being 6 millimeters thick. And it being 6 millimeters thick and being the size that it is about 2 pounds. So let's compare that to the S-wing. You're getting a big blade with that. Let's see. So a good bit lighter than the S-wing, but you're getting a lot more blade and kind of more capabilities with this, in my opinion. But the way it's distributed, it just feels strange. It does not feel balanced. Even something like this, it's got a wood handle and an axe head. Of course it's not going to be balanced, but it feels better. The distribution of weight and the balance, it feels more natural. This feels awkward. It feels awkward and kind of gangly in hand. And so I don't love the balance of this. So what's unique? Well, obviously I have a lot of negatives about this, but ultimately it's unique to get an axe of this kind of quality with G10 and 9260 spring steel with that nice sheath for the price. It's quite rare that you find something like that. But I can't say I'd recommend it simply because of the grind, because of the way it feels. Now, if you kind of want to start off with this as a template, you're like, I'm just going to grind that down. Maybe I'm going to grind these grooves down. I'm going to put some grip tape on it to make it feel more balanced or more natural in hand rather. I think that go for it, because obviously you're not going to break this thing, right? This could be a good start for kind of modifying, a pack axe. It's 32 ounces, so that's relatively heavy, but still, that's not that bad for the capabilities that you're getting. So personally, I wouldn't recommend it, but I can't say, it's an absolute complete negative or an absolute no for me. If I was willing to put in the time, I think it could be a great axe, and I think it could be one for you if that's what you're wanting to do. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Having a great time. Probably see a review on this S-Wing. Got a bunch of reviews coming up on some cold steel knives, some other knives too. So make sure and like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.